Um, do you happen to recognize this?
No.
Okay, that's good in a way because it will be new. It's a very famous endgame played by a certain world champion with white to move. I'm not telling you which world champion it is, and I'm not telling you whether it's white who is the world champ or black, but the position is white to move. What I want you to tell me is that knowing that it's white to move, what would be your preferred move to play for white, and how would you evaluate the position? No pressure.
Never. All right. This is a very interesting one. So what I know is, in general, in endgames where there's pawns on both sides of the boards, that bishops are better than knights. Is that
Yes, that is
correct?
a
I
general
think so.
observation
Yeah.
that we like to rely on. However, there are many more factors here that will make this whole situation a little bit more complicated.
Okay. Um, but it is true that most of white's pawns are on dark squares, for now. So it's like almost like the king side, it's a bit glued by that chain, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. Uh, so for white to move, should they do? Mm,
Can you easily single out a good looking white move here? Or do you have like 4,000 candidates and you just can't pick?
Oh, I can say, well, the moves that I was looking at. I was looking at d4.
Yeah?
I was looking at knight c1. I was looking at. Actually, those are the two that I was looking at to start with.
Okay, which one would you say, based on
Yeah.
just a cursory glance and your very deep understanding of the game, which one seems to be better than the other?
I will go with my first instinct because sometimes it's correct. Right.
Just to stick with scientific observations, let's go with first instincts, yeah? Because
Knight
sometimes they are
c1 was
right.
my first.
What's the appeal
So
in
you see how
playing?
confident.
Yeah, very, very. I'm so glad that my uh, words are not falling on deaf ears. What is the apparent upside or positive or benefit about playing d4 first?
Hmm.
Because I want to compare these two moves.
well, what's the benefit?
Yeah, what's good about it?
Hmm.
That's all?
Well, I don't know how to put it. Like, what's good? It's we're pushing a pawn, putting it on a dark square, and we are challenging the connected pawns, and um,
So, by you putting it on a
we
dark
don't
square,
allow.
sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off there, you should add that
no
by
worries.
definition that means that we are fixing one of our opponents
Hmm.
on white, aka target. And consequently, by the way, and this should tell you that d4 is your only legal move here, if you don't do it, against any other move, literal any other move, black is immediately going to play d4. Because there is zero chance in hell that they will allow you to play d4 and fix his pawn on white. So if you do anything but d4, you can guarantee d4. And by the way, if you just calculate this far, you realize how catastrophically it went for us compared to what it would have looked like if we had played d4. This looks very, very sad. Passive king. Knight has no logical destination to go. Maybe here, but I can deny that easily with the bishop. The bishop, sorry, bishop here. Bishop has a target. The king is super active. Yuck. Not a chance. So d4 every day of the week. Now there is a target here that you can constantly bother. The king can't step up there, and the bishop is passive. Is crazy. Yeah, which unfortunately, in my excitement now, I spelt out everything I wanted to hear from you. Most notably that white is clearly better here, and in fact has all the winning chances. Black is merely playing to survive here. Now here black played c4, which is a bad decision here. Um, but we are going to discuss that more in detail as we go along. Now white here played a very, very difficult to find move. The logical one looks to be knight c3, but you don't have to commit to that move yet. Because first of all, c3 is not threatened, and even if it was, like let's say that your knight was elsewhere, c3 you can just eat it immediately. So there is no rush to blockade the pawn. Which also, by the way, would allow the black king to occupy this pretty juicy e6 square. So what should we do here?
I feel like your last note and arrow is a bit of a hint.
Didn't intend to create any hints, so
so because of that hint, I was looking at f5, but
but what if I try to trap you
without that,
into calling out the bad
I mean,
move based on my misleading hint?
no,
I'm
it
a man
wasn't.
of psychological warfare too.
No, I actually love f5. It
Good,
would be my
because
move any day of the week.
you should like f5, and it should be your move any day of the week, because what it does is that it provokes black to split the pawns into 4 isolated ones, and now we have got 2 targets. Generally speaking, Alex, there is a wisdom amongst, well, not just players, but really it's just chess wisdom, period, that one weakness in an endgame, if material is level, usually is insufficient for the better side to convert that into a win. Because what tends to happen is that you attack it, they defend it. But as soon as you manage to find a situation where there are two weaknesses, they tend to drop. Like right now. And either of those you capture, they are a lot more important than your F pawn was, which now turned into a double F. Right? But now, no matter what black does, one other pawn is going to drop. And no matter which one it is, it also is going to yield you a passer. So F5 couldn't be captured. In fact, wasn't. What black played here was G5. Now we have to play another very, very no-brainery, typical, easy-to-play move, just based on pure endgame understanding and logic. No pressure.
H4.
Based on what logic?
Again, we like that F4 square for the knight.
Yeah, and there is another reason why we want H4. Pawn structure, pawn fixing.
Yeah.
So what do we do by H4?
Fixing the H5 pawn on the white
Exactly,
square,
fixing the pawn on the same color as the bishop, thus creating a new target. Right? Very good. Excellent. They played F6. Would you take it and create connected passes?
Six. That's we do have connected passers.
I want to show you something before you answer this question. Sorry. I'm the world champion of cutting you off, even though I don't intend to do that ever. The most natural course of action for my eyes in this position would be to play knight c3, force bishop e6, then c6 rather, play e6, and then bring the king in here. Or here. What's wrong with this plan? From here. There is a way how black can mess with this. How can you can't stop knight c3 for black, right? So obviously the part that you can stop with black is this mess of arrows that I put up here. How can black mess with that plan? I will remove the arrows because you see them anyway in your head.
Well, they can. Um, well, if they go a5, at some point that blocks the passage of the king.
Very good. Excellently said. So a5 is going to deny my entry. So they will just pass to and fro all the way. And when I arrive here, they go, not happening. And unfortunately, I don't find it feasible that I could reroute the knight in a way that it could attack the pawn, provoking the push, which would allow my king to ultimately penetrate and win. I just can't do that. Because this pawn is only attackable from here, 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 and here with a knight. And I can't access any of those squares. So, because of this very basic plan doesn't work, it's a no-go zone. I can't commit to this, and consequently, it's better if you opt for the connected passes, which may look scary, using the disallowed word, but this knight is firmly under control by the knight here, and for the time being, the king is easily in the vicinity of the other pawn. And remember that d5 is now fatally weak on account of bishop not being able to cover it from f7, because then e6 disconnects it. So black is now very, very reduced in terms of defending resources. Now here, Alekhine, I just gave away the player, played a really, really cool and difficult knight maneuver. What he wanted to do was to provoke this pawn push. And so he went here. Not my usual teachings of never go backwards, right?
Yeah.
And even here, according to modern engines, this endgame is not winnable. The idea was that if they went h4, he wanted to go g4 and win this. However, in the spirit of peace activity, this gets rained upon by this maneuver. So perhaps in this position, king somewhere would be better. But even here, things are looking quite messy. For example, I have check and then I can pick off this pawn. And again, white needs to be super careful. Anyway, Yates didn't see this. And after knight g1, they played bishop d7. Check, king back, and knight f3. And by provoking this move, now we have immobilized 2 versus 1. Well, technically they can still break through, creating a passes, so the king still needs to stay around. But the pawns, for the time being, have been completely shut down and immobilized. Now, he just moved to h4. Where do you think he's trying to reroute the knight? Which square is the knight gonna stand the best on?
the best. Mm, well,
Observe where the black
F4.
Yes, very good. So when you go to F4, you are hitting both weaknesses, and you are also supporting your pawn push.
Yeah.
Bishop E6 is played. Knight G6, Bishop F7, Knight F4, King D7. And it looks like black has managed to shut everything down. Both pawns are guarded, E6 is not playable. How do you think we can win this?
How about E6? Bishop takes, then we take on knight takes H5.
Would you really want to give up this pawn for this? I think the answer to that is a no. When you are in a situation, Alex, when your opponent has an absolutely terrible bishop, which this is the epitome of an awful bishop having 4 pawns blocked on the same color, a very common winning idea is what we describe with a marvelous German word. What is that marvelous German word that we often utilize in endgames?
Zugzwang.
Indeed, zugzwang. So, if you ask yourself what would black play if it was their turn, you would very quickly come to the conclusion that it would be resignation. The bishop can't move because one of the pawns will drop, and the king can't move because it allows e6. So they are down to pawn moves. So all you need to do is assume a waiting stance. And the pawn moves will run out. And ta-da! The game is over.
They can play like
Yeah.
A6, A5.
They did. But the pawn moves run out.
Yeah.
In fact, in the game, they played in this position king e2, makes no difference really. A5, king back, and he black gave up by playing bishop g8. Take back, bishop g8. Now we still need to come up with a winning plan. We need to do some reshuffling again. We won't be able to win this game unless we can activate our king. So let's do that.
Now we can go on the other side. Yeah, because now the bishop can block that. So
you need to be careful, because this pawn can run in if you go too far with the king that way.
Can the knight stop it if necessary, if we put it on?
Yeah, it can, but then it also means that I can just sidestep with the king and cut you off when your king is here to come here. It would be a lot
Okay.
easier and beneficial for you, more beneficial for you to come in this way.
To go the other way, yeah.
So knight e2,
Makes
the
sense.
knight now relocates to c3.
Yeah,
Bishop,
king goes to the other.
bishop e6, king f4, king e8, king g5, king f7, knight c3, all easy peasy. Drop back to f8, up. Now note that the bishop check is not playable because then you come back here and e6 wins. And now we need a final, very super smart move. How do we break through? Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I thought that I lost you for 5 seconds.
No,
but no.
You're not that lucky.
How do we break through?
Be smart, be brave.
Oh, how about a4?
That was very, very excited. And if I go just back here?
And it does.
Did you mean knight a4 or pawn a4, by the way?
Pawn.
Why did that move make you so excited?
Because I thought it's a zugzwang again.
No, I could just go to and fro. If these guys can't go, Alex, then they are dead weight. And they are very pretty and they don't help us. Put them to use.
Put them to use?
Yeah. I mean, currently they are useless. They're not helping you at all. We're just staring at these guys, not doing anything and not going anywhere.
The only thing we can do with those is right now to go f7.
Yeah, so why don't you do that?
I can see that. Well, oh my, f7. Bishop takes, and then we put the king on f6.
That sounded like a question.
To myself, but that's very interesting.
I know.
And then we can push e6, and then eventually, well, the other pawns are falling.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Oh, I did not look at that at all. Whoa.
But I invite you to call it brilliant or beautiful.
It is. It is.
It is beautiful, and this goes to show again that you cannot be attached to loving material, even if it's such an appealing pawn as this. Because in fact, it turns out that the winning pawn, as far as this endgame is concerned, is going to be this. Because you're going to go f7, takes, king here, 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 you pull back, and the pawn march is unstoppable. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
Once again, the good old theme of two connected pass pawns rolling in unstoppably. And finally, black gave up. Impressive stuff, eh?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That was the very famous Alekhine against Yates from the Hastings tournament, which is actually one of the oldest ongoing chess tournaments, by the way. They still organize it in Hastings. It's a very unique tournament, a typical chess player invention, because it goes across the turn of the year. So it's never in 1 year, it's always in 2. So one tournament overlaps the 2 years. So it's in the end of December. I don't know if it also impacts Christmas, but I believe it does, because, well, why not? Right? The chess players, no social life, so why don't we organize a tournament across Christmas? And they were like, yeah, let's do that. And also New Year's Eve, so to make sure that the party is also out of the equation. Yeah. Anyway, that was once again the famous Alekhine Yates, and yeah, very impressive endgame overall. I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
Good-o.